Mindful Relationships 101, and that's with human intelligence for those who are interested and consistently in a state of compassion. We just learned about that. I explained it recently. And then it's also about, though, you loving love and, tangoing. And also it's about the 5D collective, because those are the people who are going to be interested in becoming the optimized human 101 version of themselves, which is you, a functional adult equals a person who does what they can to emotionally mature. So one, Lovely Polysecure. Very good book for anybody who's interested in a polysecure life, but also in attachment trauma and consensual non-monogamy to find out more. Jessica Fern. Now, when you are a secure attachment person, this is why you're a functional adult. It means your body is your safe haven, secure base, and your brain. Excuse me. So as I said in the previous video, when you're in a state of compassion, you're using your prefrontal cortex. Another one of my favorite books, I'm still reading this one, Managing Your Anger. And this one's by Russell Colt, and he uses compassion-based therapy, focused. And he actually has a story that he shares in one of my classes. That's how I found him. And in the class, he talks about when he goes to prison to teach about compassion-focused therapy. I think it's for managing anger. And, we learned from a quote I read to you all how anger, actually I have it over here, Peter Levine, when emotions are thwarted, so a child who does not, an infant, a child who doesn't grow up in an environment where they can have their range of emotions explored, there's something called suppression of it, and when healthy aggression is thwarted, then we have anger. When anger is thwarted and not permitted, then we get hostility. And we also have a quote, I had that from Bezel van der Kolk, and this is in a NICABM meme. They're really awesome. You can check them out on YouTube. My other favorite one is Ron Siegel's. If we have the power to bring out the worst in another person, perhaps we have the power to bring out the best in the other person as well. So you can't bring out the worst in another person in the sense of how people are evil, which is what the ancients and others who are not in the 5D collective keep thinking. When I use the word evil now, and I've always used it without the 1 to 22 scale. Now I'm going to try and always remind people. There's Michael Stone, he's a forensic criminologist, and he has a scale. And when he begins his video, he's like, I used to think people shouldn't be using this word. It's for religious texts and philosophy, but I see everybody using it. So I figured I'd do research, or I'd do a scale, something along those lines. And when you see the scale and you're trauma-informed, I'm somatic-informed, I'm somatic experiencing-informed, I'm attachment-informed, a lot of educational, beautiful courses that help me to know what it's like to be a human. And all of it pointed me back to the origin of what I thought as a kid. Wow, you're really in a bad mood. Something's off. Like you're sad, you're mad. I don't know what's going on, but let me help. Yes? No? Do we tango or not? So the part I'm not laughing because it's funny, it's that most people have unresolved trauma and they think the movies are funny. While when I watch a movie at this point, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're perpetuating all this unresolved trauma, transgenerational trauma, and they're promoting the habits that are compulsive, that are self-soothing for people's nervous systems that they don't even know got all organized at their 7 months old, and they don't believe in any of it. And there you go. But hey, people do love relationships, so at least we got something motivating people to find out about their attachment style. So you got to see great coaches, the good ones, not the bad ones. The bad ones, they're perpetuating stereotypes, like the person who got interviewed by this woman who to this day, I'm like, what? And these people have trending topic followers. It's the ones who look good, meaning, oh, I need to look my best. And all needs to, there's like a little box for them. I have it right over there. I'm like, wow, I look from afar, but they're all happy. I'm so happy you're happy. But as a person who's, by the way, in the Enlightenment soul age group, and 5D mysticism is awesome. And thank you, Sadhguru. I know we're not here to meddle with anybody's states of consciousness. We know this, but not because of some supernatural entity that's going to come down and, come and light bolt us. No, it's actually very easy because adaptive children, emotionally speaking, no offense, anyone who doesn't know yet that hurt people can go get work. Thank you, Patrick Teahan. Their ears are off because they're in fight flight. They don't even know they're in yellow because they're addressing you in a way. Thank you, smart relationship coach dude, who mentions in beginning, intelligent women are not single because there's something wrong with them. Because, there's a stereotype for you right there. And believe me, I'm in favor of humanities, intelligence. I'm not in favor of one gender, not at all. Although as a kid, I was saying I'm a feminist. And I'm like, no, I don't want to be one thing because I'm a human. And I want all humans to access their own intelligence, which you can do if you wander. Because you know what wandering means? means you're like, ooh, I'm curious now. And there's where Krishna Lila comes in. But this is also something about ego. So it means you have a self-empowered ego. And that's where the alignment and being in heaven in your body comes in, from the yoga and Ayurveda practitioners, or the people who explain it in tongue, meaning in philosophy, but it's actual ancient ways that have always helped people. That's why it's yoga science now. So here, the neuroscience people have come in and they also know how to explain it. So they're not competing, by the way. Grown-ups don't compete. They create mindful relationships and they get curious. So it's like, wow, you know how to explain. Oh, I'm going to come explain it. So nobody's having like a debate. I'm always wondering, because I won't be able to attend. I shouldn't say always, what's always. But I'm wondering when this interview happens with Sadhguru in Harvard, and it's a like whole credit course for psychology majors. I'm wondering how that's going to go. Because I remember when he got interviewed by this other dude. And as Sadhguru said, you don't have to suffer to move into enlightenment. And I'm like, yep, that's right on. Love button people know that. Raise your hand. We have a good relationship with our emotions. Apparently people get pissy at us for it. We're so sorry. We didn't know that we shouldn't be our, simply put, restorative embodied self and moving to integration of the brain. I'm so sorry that you want us to suffer. Suffering is when you're only in that temporal junction. We use our prefrontal cortex. And so we're like, oh, I hope you feel better. Hope you stop this. Hope you, like, whatever it is, we distance ourselves and we're like, what are you doing? Are we doing the tango or not? Because I was into the tango and now I don't know what you're doing anymore. So unresolved trauma is a person, Patrick Tiahan, thank you so much, great therapist also on YouTube, who explains how a person with childhood trauma, their inner child likes stories, they like to play games, they only know gaslighting, manipulation, and a lot of other things that they had to learn as they grew up in an environment that had dysregulated nervous systems, dysfunctional family patterns, and lo and behold, violence and actual evil, which though is all people who could use mindfulness. But because mindfulness has a background in Buddhism, the people who are of other religions, how dare you give me something that is of another religion? Fair and square. That's why they're creating Christian mindfulness. They're creating secular mindfulness. They're appreciating and saying, here's the mindful relationship. Intelligent ones say, okay, of course. Of course, we respectfully say, got it, and you're right. That's how we learn to respect each other's differences, not by saying, how dare you? Or, oh, I'm going to mask it. Let me transform this thing and tell you you're doing something else. And let me sell you something that I know you're against by basically codependent types. I'm going to change the world in a way that I'm going to impose them to do what I say, martyr or superior, how my thing. Or here's the self-blame. Oh no, I have clairs and I didn't do what I was supposed to do with them, which is save the world and be the best at the best. So these are all actually serious topics if a person takes themselves seriously. I'm right now emanating 4D people who, with their clairs, think that they're here to save people or they're martyrs or they're, so here's the adaptive child who, instead of going to get good help, to get to become a grown-up, which is a secure attachment human being. So what does this mean? I'm going to break it down. It means that when something challenging happens, I get to deal with the unknown, uncertainty, unwanted, our first main module of the Inner Growth Mindset Program, from within me in this body. But you have to have a body and a head that are friends, and unresolved trauma, that equals structural dissociation and other aspects. So instead, if I am aligned in heaven in my body and my mind is my friend, inner growth mindset, I get to think things through. I'm going to know how to unconditionally love me with my flaws and imperfections, not feel shame, guilt, or whatever you're trying to do over there with the manipulation, gaslighting while you don't know what you're doing. You're not playing a game for us. Is why I liked that other dude who's like, intelligent women, they don't put up with BS. Yeah, from anyone, a 5D collective, but that doesn't mean we're going to be yelling. No, we're the Zen masters who are compassionate because like something is hurting. Let us talk about it. Let's have direct communication. So safe haven, secure-based people, we know our interests, our desires, all of it. We know who we are. I know who I am. Do you know who you are? Do you know what floats your boat? And so this is where not putting up with BS does not mean I'm going to shame, blame, fault, or revenge you for any reason at all. And I won't call you evil when I know you're a person who has addictive patterns, collective, unresolved trauma, and a lot more, because there's a transgenerational trauma for cultural groups as well. So unresolved trauma doesn't get, you don't actually dissolve somebody's shame or help them to become a grown-up version of themselves with emotional insecurity. It's emotional security and maturity and speaking to you with the eyes that respect you, which is what mindful relationships are. They're conversations with love in the forefront.